There's Rylan. She's closing the blinds for me. All right, so this is the last note card and probably the trickiest one. I waited to do one like this because it's weird and has an extra step. Okay, and you don't see these often, but when the number on the top of the fraction and the exponent is even, you have an extra step you have to do later. Okay. Okay, so I paused myself because I needed to add a few things to the slide. Right here when the numerator is even, we haven't had any of those. Let's see. Numerator was odd, 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 numerator was odd. So it wasn't until the 7th example in this lesson where we see a numerator that's even. You have to be careful towards the end. I put at the end. I'm going to change that to towards the end of the process. So I'm going to work this with you. We still need to isolate the rational exponent expression. So that's this binomial to the 2/3. So to do that, we need to divide both sides by 3. So we get here, it's all equal to 4. And then we still raise each side to the needed power. We're going to have to raise both sides to the third so we can get rid of that third on the denominator, that 3. And so when we do that, 2/3 times 3 is 2. And then we get a 64 on the right. Now, the step 3 is to use algebraic rules to solve for the variable. So in order to solve for this, we have to take the square root of both sides. But remember we were doing this in Unit 1? When you take a square root, you have to put a plus or minus. And that's the same for any even root. So this happens to be a 2, so we're taking the square root. And remember, that's understood. So I don't have to put the 2 in here in the index. You could. But if you take a 4th root or a 6th root, you still have to do this plus or minus. Now, remember when we were doing the quadratic formula, the plus or minus symbol, let's see if this shows up here. Images, I'm hoping it does. Right here, we would write it like that. It's just not doing that nice and neat for me. I mean, I could go and add this image in and all that, but I just write it as plus minus like that. But it's the same thing as the plus or minus like in the quadratic formula, okay? So just keep that in mind. When we got here, we take the square root of both sides. That's going to, there's me taking the square root, and I am putting a plus or minus. Again, you can use the symbol just right on top of each other like this. And then I get x plus 1 equals plus or minus 8. So remember, when you are taking an even root, in this case is a square root, you must put a plus or minus in the front. So I get x plus 1 equals plus or minus 8. And then you've got to isolate the x. So you subtract 1. And I don't know if you remember, but we put that in front of the plus or minus. Okay, so we have -1 plus or minus 8. And we need to split that. That's x equals -1 plus 8 and x equals -1 minus 8. So I solve each of those, and I get x equals 7, x equals -9. I go to check both of them, and they both work. Okay, so we get x, but since both of them work, we get x equals 7 and x equals 9. That's set notation with the little squiggly brackets with the comma. You could write the -9 first, but both of those work in the original. So those are both the solutions to this equation. Finish up note card 105. You guys did awesome. If you got this far, send me an email and tell me that the blinds were being closed in this video. So send me an email about section 4.5 and you saw the blinds get closed by my youngest daughter. Great job, guys. Bye.